You're not doing interviews. You're not doing crossover events like you said you would. I don't understand what's going on. It's not me. It's literally not me. All right, I'm gonna do a clip because this is the God's honest truth, and a lot of people don't know this, so I just want to make this known. And by the way, don't worry, I'm not gonna blow up anyone's spot or anything here because some people might be like, "Whoa, he's gonna say something? Oh, I didn't say he could talk about that." Well, don't worry, I'm not gonna drop any names or anything. Okay, so where are we at? We're on 40 minutes in. Okay. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, people have been asking me recently what happened in regards to you doing interviews on the Level 1 podcast, right? And other topics like that. Like you seem to have gone back to you're doing a lot of gameplay now. You're not necessarily doing some of the content like you said you had been interested in doing. I just got asked on stream, what's the status of doing an interview with Wings of Redemption? What's the status of doing an interview with Boogie? We'd like to see those interviews, even if it means going through Keemstar to get them going, right?
Before he starts his incredibly long response and repeats himself multiple times, I want to remind everyone that this question has already been answered. He's already explained that he's no longer interested in pursuing interviews due to the unprofessionalism that other content creators have demonstrated. He's also expressed that he'd rather focus on gaming as the casino bump wears off and he inevitably is forced back into his normal audience, and they expect gaming. I just wanted to make all of that clear so that I could tell you that this segment should not exist. Anybody still asking after the interview should be either referred back to previous content or met with a short but to the point response. Just based off of his preamble though, I'm sure that you're well aware by now that that is not going to be what happens. So please enjoy DSP divulging far more information than he should and giving Trolls Online more ammunition than he should.
Okay, here's the deal. So basically, I put a heck of a lot of work in the months of August and September and the first half of October into trying to schedule and even wrangle people to be interviews for this show. Okay, it's shown that when you get interviewed on this show, there's good viewership, right? Like we get thousands of viewers for those interviews, and they get good viewership as well on the channel, and a ton of people clip them and talk about them. So it gets you good notoriety. It gets a buzz going in the online community when I have people interviewed on this show. But the thing is, it takes a hell of a lot of work to make it happen. And sadly, because of who I am, people just don't make themselves available as if I were someone else. Allow me to explain, right? As you know, for the greater part of a decade, I've had haters, trolls, detractors, whatever you want to call them, who harass everyone associated with me on the internet. Like, completely, right? And so, when you are going to appear on this show as a guest for an interview, you have to understand the amazing amount of harassment you might receive as a result. No exaggeration, every single person, the 4 people in a row that I interviewed on this show, all received mass harassment from my detractors. They all were contacted and thrown, oh, you got to talk about this topic. You better fucking talk to Phil about this. You better do this. Why didn't you do this? How dare you do this and this and this and this? It's like, what the fuck? All they want to do is come on the show and talk with me in an interview. And it could be about any topic. You know, each person was unique. Keemstar, Stuttering Craig, June the King, and then Tolomeo. All were 4 completely different people with different topics to discuss, correct? I didn't even know how some of the interviews were going to go when they went down. It could have went different directions, right? But the problem is when you are now going to appear on the show and you know that now this means weeks of systematic harassment. They're going to come to your content and streams. They're going to come to your forums. They're going to come to your Discord. They're going to go to your social media. And these morons, these mouth-drooling idiots are going to come harass the shit out of you. That scares a lot of people, all right? At first, I had a few people who were very interested to do an interview. And then they basically saw how the other interviews went down and the level of harassment that some of these people went through and said, I don't want to deal with that.
And this is exactly what I meant when I said that he was going to divulge far more information than he should. Because he is outright admitting publicly here for everyone that online harassment and trolling is actively hurting his business and his future projects. How after all of this time, 16 years of being a content creator, has he not realized that that's kind of the last thing that he should be admitting to? You might have noticed though that he said that people who he had lined up were interested until they saw how the other interviews were handled, and then he went on to talk about trolls online. Just the way that the sentences were structured, it almost makes me think that after he did a few of those interviews, people who may have been interested before realized that his operation was subpar at best, and that they'd rather not take the risk of being associated with the guy who jorked his peanuts on stream. DSP is of course incapable of even considering this, of course, because, you know, he does everything correct and nothing wrong, remember? So obviously it was the trolls who have made everyone dislike DSP, not his own actions. It really is just a miracle that the detractors have managed to infiltrate every single group that DSP has ever tried to be a part of since pretty much the beginning of his life. It's crazy how that works out.
I had people lined up for it and then they backed out. Okay? Now, in the regards of people who are not necessarily involved with internet drama, there's two particular people, okay, who I've actually wanted to do like an interview with for many, many years, one of which I really, really respect, okay? Someone who I've known for a long time, someone who I feel like if we sat down and we had a candid interview about certain topics, it could actually blow up in regards to the internet talking about various things, okay? Because I don't think anyone's ever had these discussions before. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to, again, I don't want to blow up anyone's spot or whatever, okay? So I'm talking with this particular person for months, all right, about this and how it would go down and everything. And basically what keeps happening is this person, again, they don't understand the internet hate against me. They don't understand how the detractors work. They just keep hearing new things, new toxic things about me every week from fucking detractors and shit, right? So one week it's this, oh, Phil did this, and the next week it's Phil did that, and next week it's Phil did this, and next week it's Phil did that. And it's none of it's true. Like literally, it couldn't be further from the truth.
If it couldn't be farther from the truth, then it should be easy to explain, right? So what is the issue? Could it possibly be that this mysterious person is being sent full clips of you entirely in context with no additions, and that they're coming to their own conclusions? Oh, God forbid. Even if you side with DSP on this though, even if you believe that unsuspecting victims are being tricked into hating him simply because of the malicious trolls online, what does that say about the guest that he's interested in bringing on? This mysterious person has supposedly been in direct communication with DSP for months, if you believe him, and he's apparently being swayed by mouth-drooling detractor videos? Why would DSP be willing to give that person his audience's attention? Clearly, he has demonstrated already to not be the best intellectually. I mean, he's watching detractor content, and only the lowest of the low would do that.
For example, one of the things that scared them off was over a month ago. On my React show, DSP versus the internet, there was a clip. Someone had submitted it, and it was a VTuber, all right? And I guess this VTuber was playing Street Fighter 6, and another VTuber matched up with them, and they're playing them, and they're freaking out. Now, I don't even understand the context of the clip, and my chat's trying to explain to me, I guess both of these VTubers had been in like a tournament or something, and so for them to play and match up randomly was incredibly rare luck that this ever would happen. So that's why the VTuber's freaking out. I said, all right, this is kind of interesting. I'll watch. I'll see if they're any good. I'll commentate. And I'm watching it, and I watch a couple minutes of the clip. But this VTuber just keeps screaming at the top of their lungs. And it's grating. Imagine if the whole podcast was this. And I didn't have a voice limiter on. Imagine if it was just screaming, screeching, okay? So after watching this for like 2 minutes, I was like, guys, I'm sorry. I literally can't keep watching this clip. It's actually giving me a headache. Like, it's bothering me. I'm not trying to insult the person. Just they talk so high-pitched and so loud, constantly screaming, that it's actually hurting my head. And I want to just move on to the next clip, okay? And that was literally it. Like, that was literally 100% it. My detractors took that clip and started spreading it all over the internet saying, DSP hates VTubers. Here's him being totally bigoted and prejudiced against VTubers. And it's not what happened at all. It could have been any clip I was watching and someone was screaming at the top of their lungs and it hurt my ears. I would have said the same thing. It didn't matter that it was a VTuber. It doesn't matter if it's a male or a female or somewhere in between. It doesn't matter what the color or race or creed or whatever. It could have been any single thing. If it's that high pitched of a sound, it's going to hurt my head and I don't want to watch the clip. I'm going to move on to the next. And I have the right to do that. It's my react show, right? I don't have to sit there and torture my fucking self with a clip. If it's so loud, it hurts me.
I just want to say that he is really underselling just how much of a whiny bitch he was during that React segment. Were the two VTubers in question being loud and obnoxious in a typical VTuber fashion? Yes, absolutely. But the way that he just had to verbally bring it up and specifically start complaining about getting a headache after just a few moments of exposure clearly demonstrated the contempt that he had for what he was watching. But then he proceeded to go on and continue to complain about the style of voice and the style of content that is so closely associated with VTubing as a whole. So it's no wonder some people came to the conclusion that he just hates that type of content, as he's already stated his disinterest in many of its key elements. If he wants to be upset about the way that people interpret the things that he says, then he should be taking actions to avoid any of these misunderstandings in the first place. He just doesn't though. He frequently puts himself in situations where his words can be taken in a negative way and then gets upset when they are interpreted negatively.
So I'm not kidding you. This person says to me, who I've been trying to get on an interview for months. So I heard now that you're saying awful things about VTubers and I don't understand why, I don't know why would I want to do an interview with you? You're just someone who's trying to cause problems and stuff. I was like, what are you talking about? Did you even see the clip? Do you even know what happened? This has nothing to do with the person being a VTuber at all. I would have said that to anyone who was being too loud, right? So that's the point. Like, trying to arrange these interviews is like so much pulling teeth and bullshit, and it's because of bullshit. It's not because I wouldn't be a good interviewer. It's not because the interview wouldn't be good content. It's because there's 10 years of shit all over the internet about me. So when you try to get someone to interview, like, I don't want to deal with this guy. Nah, this guy's terrible. I've heard this and this and this about him and this and that.
Those are the repercussions of his own actions though. Don't let him convince you otherwise. The internet isn't a fair place, I agree, but he's had 16 years to create a perception of himself online, and he's failed to make it one that anybody else would be willing to engage with. And isn't that the way that it's supposed to be? Shouldn't people be allowed to look into your history, or at least all of the things that he's made public on his channel, and decide for themselves based off of that information if they want to deal with him? He really has no one to blame but himself. He is the one that has conducted himself so poorly throughout the years that he's painted himself into this corner. And instead of changing for the better, like he loves to claim that he's doing all of the time, he just instead sits there and whines and cries every time the topic is relevant, because he doesn't want to be held responsible. And it's just pathetic for a 42-year-old man to be acting this way, especially in front of other people.
You guys who are here every day watching my content, you know who I am because you're here every day. You watch it and you support it and you enjoy it. But outsiders don't know that. They tend to believe the things they hear, or they just hear the next bullshit thing over and over and over, to the point where, I mean, I get it. Like, imagine every day my detractors make something up about me. I ignore it and I'm fine. Like, I'm doing well. Just so everyone knows, I'm doing very, very well. All right. To the point where things are better for me financially. I can now afford things. As you can see, I'm upgrading my equipment. I just got a new washer dryer. I have an electrician who's going to be coming the next couple of weeks to install ceiling fans in my home. I've got other things going on. I'm taking more time off to spend with my family. And this is all great stuff thanks to you guys, right? I'm not hurting here because my detractors don't really affect me in that regard at all. However, where it is hurting me is public image, where trying to cross over and have opportunities, they're not happening. Why? Because these idiots say so many toxic things every single week that people who are outside of this bubble of toxic internet drama don't get it and don't want to be associated with it. And I can't blame them. All right? I literally can't. There's people who I've had talked with or association with in the past that no longer want to do that. They don't want a chance that my detractors will latch onto them and cause them problems. And I totally 100% get it. Why wouldn't I? I'm here in the center of it, so I know what it's like. I could just imagine what it would be like if you have your own thing going on, your own life, your own business, your own internet thing, and now all of a sudden my detractors are going to start coming after you. You wouldn't want to do that, right?
What does that say about DSP though? That in a world where people are siding with Dr. Disrespect and Mr. Beast, people accused of being child diddlers, that Phil can't get anyone to side with him? And isn't it entirely coincidental that people outside of the Vortex consistently side with detractors and that even he has to admit that that's the case? It's almost like if he doesn't catch them young, no Diddy, he has no chance of convincing anyone of his bogus ass excuses. Once again though, it's always the detractors that are making things up daily, if you believe DSP.
So, yeah, it's pretty fucked up. You know, I was working my ass off trying to get interviews every night after work. You know, after my wife went to bed, I was there messaging people behind the scenes. Hey, let's do this, let's do that. Here's how we'll make it work. Let's get a schedule going. Let's do it. It was a nightmare. And then again, the straw that really broke the camel's back was last month with Boogie, where I'm working with this guy for weeks and weeks to do this interview. And he's just not working with me. I need him to simply tell me the date and time. I need him to simply tell me his Discord so I can send him an invite. I simply need him to accept my invite request. And it's like insane amounts of work to get this guy to even fucking respond, right? Now, Wings has outright told me he wants to do the interview, 100%. He wants to do it. But he said that he would, because of everything going on last month with the surgery and everything, that he was going to get back to me on when he's ready. He hasn't yet. So maybe he never will. Maybe I need to go after him, right? But to be honest, I just haven't worked on it, nor have I really cared. Being completely transparent with all of you, I just don't really care right now. I'd much rather focus on my content. Let's make my content better. Let's find games people want to see, right? And play them.
Working his ass off, meaning messaging other adults about a video call. Think about how easy your life has to be if scheduling an entirely optional video call is your big stressor of the day. This is why I always say that I can't even imagine DSP working a real job, because he legitimately thinks that direct messaging and equally pathetic lolcow is hard work. Like, yeah, DSP, that's real back-breaking labor that you're doing there. How can the dents ever repay you? I do have to take a second though and appreciate that for once, DSP has finally made a smart decision and has decided to stop making content that he personally doesn't feel he cares about enough. That has been advice I have given him many times throughout my videos, so I'd be out of line to not at least give him a big ups for that. Now, of course, when I said that, I was hoping he'd get the message and just stop streaming entirely, as it's very clear he only cares about the money. But hey, the end of the level 1 interviews is an awfully good start, and who knows, maybe this time next year, DSP Reacts will be going the same way.
Let's focus on improving the React content. Instead of it being a weekly clip show, let's really work on making a long-form show work, right? So let's brainstorm. Let's work on that. And I have all the stuff. I don't know if we're going to get to it today again. You know, we're going long-term here. Every day I say I'm going to get to it, and we're going to talk about it, and we never do, right? So we'll see. Let's see what happens. But basically, the way I see it is I think eventually I will get back to interviews when I feel like it. I just don't feel like it right now. I'd much rather focus on my own shit than trying to wrangle people, because that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm in Red Dead Redemption, I got a lasso, and I'm trying to wrangle the wild horse and then tame it to get it to come to do a fucking interview, and it shouldn't be like that. Like, really, it shouldn't be like that at all. It should be, hey, do you want to come on? Yes. Okay, here's the schedule. Here's the slots. You want to come on one of those? Yes, I'd like to come on this one. Okay, send me your Discord. Okay, here it is. All right, we're set. Talk to you next week when we're ready to go.
I'll always find it odd when he complains about not being able to get to certain topics or do certain things when he makes his own schedule and picks his own topics. If he really had something to talk about, if it was that important, he could just go another 30 minutes and get it done. When a problem can be solved that easily, I don't know why he would continue to push it off to cause more issues in the future. Unfortunately now though, I once again have to agree with DSP, because he is right when it comes to scheduling enabling people to come on for your content. It should be that easy, at least for the most part, because people who want to work with you, people who like you, people who value you and your time, they make time for that. They stay true to their word and will find the time because it's also important to them. And I think that that's honestly why DSP is having as much of an issue as he is when it comes to getting people to come on his show. Despite what he claims, there just isn't a very large incentive to do anything with him at all. It doesn't exactly take a doctorate to realize that the only people who care about DSP are trolls at this point, and if the creator in question isn't interested in a toxic community like that, why would they give him the time of day? I think that he's just so in denial that he can't see it for what it really is.
Instead, it's like, message, wait 3 days for a response. Then they respond and they're confused. You got to clear up their confusion. Then you got to talk about that. Why is it 3 weeks before I even start talking about getting them on the show? Like, forget it. Fuck it. Really, it drives me fucking like absolutely insane. And just for the record, all right? And again, this is not particularly aimed at any person. All right? There have been multiple ideas regarding me interacting with other people, all right, on the internet. People who sometimes have had history with me, people who you think you would love to see this happen, DSPX, whoever, right? And these ideas have been worked on and proposed, and every fucking person has backed out. Every single person has backed out. And it's been a bunch. It's not one or two, it's a bunch.
And just listen to the way that he seethes when he says that too. He is pressed because other people have better things to do than talk to him. It's just so funny to me the level of importance that he ascribes to himself and then just expects everyone around him to agree with. I would imagine that it would suck to want to work with someone that doesn't feel the same and doesn't reciprocate that want, but what you don't need to do is go on your stream and make a big to-do about it. All he had to do in this instance was swallow his pride and keep it pushing, but he just wasn't capable.
So people are happy to talk about DSP whenever it means that they can punch me, okay? If it's, oh, I could just make fun of Phil today and make money. So here it goes, right? You know, think of Review Tech, right? I mean, he's definitely one of them. But basically, if it means that I can take a cheap jab and I could beat up Phil today and blood is squirting out of him and I make money, that's great. But now Phil is willing to do actual crossover events, conversations, you know, to actually have a chance to like respond, to defend myself or go back at them. No one's interested. Oh, so you only want to address Darkside Phil when it means you get the free punch and the free jab. The moment that I have the ability to clap back, you're a pussy. Yeah, and it's not one or two. It's been a bunch of people who the idea has been presented. Hey, Phil's willing to do crossovers now. Phil's willing to do events now. Phil wants to have a conversation. Push the fuck out.
Wait, now we're calling people who don't want to work with Phil pussies? I thought they just couldn't communicate effectively or were getting dissuaded by trolls. Now there's other people who have been talking shit on DSP for ages and they don't want to come on the show? Why would he want them to come on in the first place? I'm not at all surprised to hear though that people are more willing to talk about him in their content rather than be a part of his content. DSP can be an interesting and odd topic for many people. It's no wonder they might bring him up or joke about him in passing. But being a part of his content, actually talking to him, dealing with everything that goes with DSP, that's a level of commitment that I just don't think most people want. I'd guess in all seriousness, there's really only a handful of people out there who would even consider it, and all of them would be trolls and detractors in some way.
So again, these people who are on the internet, who for years have been bullies, you have to question, why are they internet bullies? Because it's easy. Because when it's just you talking and there's no response, guess what? It's an echo chamber. And you get all these people who like that idea of bullying the person or whatever, right? There's no opportunity to clap back or respond. But now, oh, the tables have turned. Hey, let's do this for real now. Let's have a real back and forth. Let's have a real opportunity for a discourse or a discussion. Oh, no. Oh, can't do that. Oh, okay. Great. So anyway,
I really do hate to interrupt again so soon, but the way that he's talking, it sounds like he wants to have detractors on the show. Of course, that's not actually the case. He's going to walk that back here in a bit, don't worry. But nonetheless, that's what it sounds like. Aside from RTU though, I can't think of who he's even talking about, aside from maybe Max, but Max isn't even out here talking bad about DSP like that, because Max is actually a successful streamer and very busy doing his job. Phil seems awfully confident right now though, doesn't he? He's out here trying to confront people about the things that they said about him. He's calling them out in videos. Just a lot of bravado coming from the dark side Phil camp. It sure would be a shame if every time someone pushed back on him, he folded like paper or talked himself into an incoherent, nonsensical circle. I guess we should just be counting our blessings that's never happened though, right? Right?
That's why. If you're wondering. And by the way, no, again, I just want to make this clear. It's not directed at any one particular person or whatever, because you know people will make shit up. I have not said a single word. I have not blown up anyone's spot. I have not done that. But I know people are questioning me now. Phil, it's almost mid-November. You're not doing interviews. You're not doing crossover events like you said you would. I don't understand what's going on. It's not me. It's literally not me. It's like the internet has become a bunch of fucking pussies. Really. They just don't nothing to do with DSP, because you know what it is. They know now that I have a voice and I have points. You know, I have a podcast where I'm making good, valid points about shit that people are agreeing with. Fuck, I don't want to deal with that guy. I wanted to deal with the guy who everyone thought was a buffoon, who no one would listen to, because then it would be easy pickings for me. Oh shit, it's not easy pickings anymore? Oh, fuck that. I want nothing to do with them, right? Well, fuck off then, I guess. I don't know what else to say, right? But I guess that's life. What can I say, right?
Have you ever heard another person talk about themselves the way that DSP does? It just makes me, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, cringe. It's actually a physical reaction when he does segments like that, where he sings his own praises and talks about his own resurgence or whatever. It's just so shameless every time. No, DSP, no one is running away because you have a voice now. Nobody wants to do collabs with you because the only circles that you're still relevant in are the circles people would rather not be associated with. It really is simple as. I mean, just think about some of the people that DSP has already collabed with. Keemstar, only prevalent in drama and lolcow circles. The Kino Casino, also really only prevalent in drama and lolcow circles. Stuttering Craig, a man who's pretty much only relevant for right-wing grifting in video games at this point. As you can see, these aren't exactly A-list celebrities. DSP isn't collabing with Ludwig and then wondering why nobody else wants to reach out to him. He's talking to Keemstar, for Christ's sake.
Anyway, so there you go. That's what's going on. If you were wondering, you know, will I ever get back to interviews? Will I get back to special crossovers? Perhaps. Okay. But no, exactly right. Maxwell says it's because your reputation changed. They all wanted to talk to you before your comeback started. And they were all begging to get you in an interview. Numerous examples. Now they suddenly don't want it. Yeah. I mean, Rich is definitely the biggest case of that. Review Tech, where for years, all he wants to do is interview me. Then I say, hey, this is it. Come on my show. And he's the ultimate pussy and won't do it. But then he continues to do the one-sided narrative shit on his streams, but he won't have the conversation with me. If you won't come on my show and interview me, or I interview you, or we go back and forth, then you have no right to then do what you're doing on your content, on your streams. You don't. You just don't have the right. You know? Sorry, you forfeit the right to validly criticize someone when you run from them like a fucking coward. All right. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thinking about it now, if DSP really wanted to have Boogie on and was even considering doing lolcow live in return, why wouldn't he just go on lolcow live first and confront Boogie there and make him lock in a date and time right there live on stream? It would almost make for good content. I know that the answer is because DSP is not legitimately considering going on lolcow live and never really was, but if that's the case, why would Boogie ever work with DSP to begin with? So that he could not get paid? Lord knows DSP isn't going to be sharing any of that money. Tangent aside, despite what you just heard DSP say about that being all he had to say about the topic, it was not in fact all that he had to say about the topic, because of course it wasn't.
Oh, this is hilarious. Hold on a second. Someone in chat says, all of your detractors are willing to sit down and have an interview with you, like Duty, Snort, Raw, they're open invite, stop lying. Who said I want to talk to them? No. I'm not talking about internet nobody detractors. How could you possibly confuse the two? I'm talking about people who are notable YouTubers, who have followings, who make livings doing it, who go viral for the content they make shitting on me. That's who I'm talking about. Somebody's. Not fucking internet detractor nobodies.
I just want to clarify that there is not an open invitation to DSP from Atlas. I just want to correct the record even though I wasn't listed explicitly, but this is him just confirming that he's clout chasing. He's looking to do content with people who have a larger following than him who may have made a small joke at his expense in the past so that he can confront them and take advantage of the fact that they really don't know much about him at all. I mean, talk about picking the easiest target, I guess. He's really gonna show the internet how cool he is when he confronts their favorite streamer and the streamer doesn't even know what he's talking about. How could anybody have a negative opinion of him after that? But who exactly does he have in mind when he's saying all of these things if not detractors? Is he expecting PewDiePie to answer for making a DSP joke years ago? If so, that might be the most insane thing that he's ever thought. Is he expecting Matt McMuscles to come on and explain all of the sneaky references that he puts into his videos? Fat chance that's gonna happen.
Literally no one wants to talk to detractor nobodies. No one, right? We entertained Doody for like half a second 2 months ago. And that was it. There's no point to giving these people attention. They are literally no ones. No one cares about them or what they say. I'm talking about these people who have brought me up time after time after time after time after time in their content as the joke, the butt of the joke, the whipping boy. But now DSP is willing to come on and talk with them. Let's do a crossover event. I'll go on your show. You come on my show. Let's do this. Let's have a special. Let's have a neutral ground to appear on. Oh, no, can't do that. Well, then why the fuck did you talk about me for years? Now that the ground is becoming more fair, oh, no, I can't do that. Okay, Mr. Million Sub YouTuber, Mr. gets hundreds of thousands of views on every video you put out, particularly ones about me that crap on me. But now that the tables have turned and people want to see me clap back, you don't want that opportunity. You want to shut down that avenue. Okay, well, that's on you. I mean, it's pretty disingenuous. That's what I'm talking about.
It sounds like he's just talking about RTU again, and I'm sick of it. I just want to go 1 week without Rich being a topic. Please! Anyway, we're going to be moving on positively.
No one is talking about my detractors. No one wants to talk about my detractors or talk to them. They're losers. They're complete wastes of life. If they disappeared from the planet today, literally no one would care. No one. They'd be like, oh well, move on. So why the fuck do I care? I don't. I never will. You will never see me doing an interview with a detractor and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So...
Well, never say never, DSP. You said you wouldn't ever work with Keemstar, and then you did it anyway. I'm sure somewhere down the road, maybe as he's making his final streaming exit, he will talk to some detractor somewhere. Maybe it'll even be hosted by the fantastic as always ALT Insider. One can hope. That is going to be the end of the video though. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Be safe. Goodbye.
It could actually blow up in regards to the internet talking about various things.